As we stand here today in front of Paterson Police Headquarters, Governor Corzine and Senator Weinberg, Congressman Pascrell, Chair Spezial, Assemblywoman Pou, Director Brown, and Chief Whittick, we all stand together here against gun violence. Governor Corzine, and I have both been involved with the Mayors Against Illegal Guns, joining Mayor Bloomberg of New York and Mayor Menino of Boston. This program includes over 450 mayors from more than 40 states who believe that we have the responsibility of preventing criminals from illegally obtaining guns and preventing those who do get them from using them. Just this last week, legislation was defeated in the U.S. Senate that would allow people who have concealed weapons permit in their home state to take firearms into other states. This would mean that someone from a state with easy-to-obtain carrying permits will be able to carry those firearms on the streets of New Jersey, where it is very hard to obtain a carrying permit. This might also cause residents of New Jersey to travel outside the state to obtain a carrying permit. In 2006, then Governor Corzine's first term as our governor of New Jersey, and my second term as mayor, there was approximately 12,791 homicides committed throughout the United States with guns. Here in the city of Paterson, there were 79 people shot with guns. Of those, 12 died. During that year, Governor Corzine and Attorney General's office brought Operation Ceasefire to New Jersey. Operation Ceasefire had begun in 1995 in the city of Chicago, but it took until 2006 under this governor to put gun violence on the top priority of his administration, to bring it to New Jersey. The city of Paterson was invited to join this program in 2007, and we quickly joined Operation Ceasefire in New Jersey. It's a statewide anti-violence campaign designed to stop the next shooting. The initiative is strategic, data-driven, problem-solving approach to reducing gun violence in selected communities through a collaborative partnership between law enforcement and the community. The 5 core components of ceasefire is community mobilization, trained outreach workers, public awareness, clergy faith-based, and law enforcement. Here in the city of Paterson, the police department took experienced homicide detectives and made a separate ceasefire unit. This unit has responded to every shooting in the city since the inception. In 2007, the first year of ceasefire, shootings were reduced from 79 to 38. The solvability of shooting increased from 25% in 2006 to 52% in 2007. This rate of solvability has remained constant for the past 3 years that we have been under this program, thanks to the leadership of our governor. The number of shootings increased in 2008 to 64, but they again went down 45% in 2009, with 19 shootings during the first 6 months. We recognize in the city of Paterson that ceasefire alone was not the answer, so we joined the governor, the Attorney General's office, and our federal congressional delegation to other programs that will assist in lowering violent crime. Operation City Shield, Operation Shot Spotters, CompStat with the data-driven with the state police, to name a few. These initiatives were so successful that we have instituted even an Operation Impact that has led to a block-by-block, ward-by-ward fight against crime. But these are not alone. We have to ask for increased mandatory sentencing when the use of a gun and strict law enforcement, prevention, and reentry programs. These results, all in these programs, have brought considerable reduction in crime across the board. I could also state that for the first 6 months of 2009, total crime is down 20%. This includes a decrease of 20% of property crime and 20% decrease in violent crime for the 9th straight consecutive month. We're also involved with the governor's Corzine Safe Street and Safe Neighborhood initiative. It gives me great pleasure to join you in introducing the governor of the great state of New Jersey, Jon Corzine.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. It is great to be in the city of Paterson, and we want to get to that Peruvian parade, so I'll try to be brief. I also want to welcome Congressman Pascrell, who's been a great advocate with respect to gun control since he's been in public life. Nellie Pou, who serves in the Assembly with me with very vigorous support for this area. And we're joined by Chief Whittick, Director Brown, and Chief Lovely from the city of Paterson. I want to say, to start with, yesterday, I know many of you know, we announced our Lieutenant Governor, and we're joined today by Loretta Weinberg. Senator Loretta Weinberg has been one of the staunchest advocates for gun control, for making certain that we do common sense things to protect people in their homes, in their streets, in their neighborhoods across the state. And as she is in almost everything she does, she is outspoken, she's feisty, and she wants to make sure that we do those things that are right for our citizens. And when we do that, their lives are better. And as Mayor Torres outlined, there have been a series of steps, ceasefire, safe streets, safe neighborhoods, that we have implemented over the last 3.5 years, which have had major impact on gun violence and violence in general in the state. Violent crime for the time frame of our term in office is down 7.5%, and murders have declined 12% in that period of time. The mayor outlined a number of the steps that we've taken to make that happen. It is really quite a significant effort. That said, any violent crime, any murder is unacceptable. And we have seen over the last several weeks a number of our bravest, our men and women who are in uniform, attacked. We have seen in our neighborhoods random acts of violence that have brought real tragedy to certain neighborhoods across the state. And we need to do everything possible to make sure that we protect our citizens. In a very few short days, I will be signing a bill, 1 handgun a month. We do believe that buying 1 handgun a month is probably more than enough for individuals as we go forward. And Loretta was one of the staunchest advocates on that, and Assemblywoman Pou as well. And I want to say that it is a sharp contrast with my opponent, who I am running against, who is opposing that bill and says we have all the laws that we need. The fact is, until we eliminate this violence that we can see on our streets, until police officers are safe carrying out their duties, we need to move forward. And so today I want to announce a comprehensive package moving against gun violence and gun trafficking in our state, additional steps that I think make us even stronger. First two of these are very common sense. They are increasing the penalties for people who traffic in firearms, people who get involved in straw purchasing, maybe in another state, and then bringing and distributing guns in our state. We want to move from a level 3 crime to a level 2 crime, and make certain that people who traffic in guns that would attack our families, would attack our neighborhoods, are held accountable. That's step one. Anyone that is a leader of a gun trafficking gang or effort will be held accountable, and we want to toughen our laws. Anyone who straw purchases and distributes will equally be held accountable with tougher sentencing requirements. The second step we want to announce is we want to make certain that any time one of our law enforcement officers, like Detective DiNardo in Jersey City, is assaulted with a weapon, most certainly if they are murdered with a weapon, that the individual is subject to life imprisonment. We believe that there should be no tolerance, zero tolerance of anyone who brings forth an assault on a law enforcement peace officer. We also are going to ask and move to ban .50 caliber firearms in New Jersey. Most of you know .50 caliber I know Bill's been to Iraq and Afghanistan. They put 50 caliber weapons on the tops of the vehicles, the armored vehicles in military combat, because they can go through concrete walls. They can be extraordinarily destructive to armor-piercing resistance elements. 50 caliber firearms are designed to kill. There's no other purpose. They're designed to bring great harm, and they should not be, in my view, in the hands of potential domestic terrorists, gang members, and they can lead to mass disaster if we're not careful. And so we want to ban that. Fourth step we're announcing is that we would like to join California in a step that's called micro-stamping. It puts an identifier on the shell casing of automatic guns so that you can trace those shells immediately from a scene of a crime to identify at least who the purchaser was and maybe back into quick action in an investigation and solving a crime. We've taken great pride in our work with E-Trace, just at the Rock in Trenton this week, working on our E-Trace initiative with our federal partners. But we think with micro-stamping we can be much more effective as we go forward. And then finally, I want to encourage, I don't have to encourage Bill Pascrell to do this, but we need real efforts at the federal level to move forward on some very simple things. We urge the federal government and the Congress to take up a ban on new assault weapons. We already have that here in New Jersey, but if somebody can go across a river, buy an assault weapon, bring it here into Paterson and cause cause tragedy, it is unacceptable. We need to close the gun show loophole. No background checks on anybody at a gun show loophole. It's an obvious place where people can trade in these weapons of destruction of our safety and security in our neighborhoods. And we want to lift any and all restrictions on law enforcement's ability to trace crime weapons. There are a number that have been instituted under the Bush administration, and we want that to end. This is a very important set of recommendations that I think will make New Jerseyans safer. Needs to be done in cooperation with new efforts at the federal level. And more importantly, for the purposes of this year's debate on issues as we go into the November election, my position with regard gun safety, gun control is absolute and certain. It is, we need to do everything possible to protect our law enforcement officers. We need to do everything we can do to protect our citizens in our neighborhood. My opponent in this year's gubernatorial election tells you that we don't need national laws. Matter of fact, as I had mentioned, was not in favor of a 1 gun a month. Again, very hard to understand how anybody thinks you need to be buying more than 12 guns. Actually, the way we executed the law is 13 guns in a given year in the state of New Jersey. This is an important issue, and until we eliminate all of those efforts, take every step and every effort to protect our citizens, we have not gone far enough to make sure that we dampen and eliminate gun violence, take guns out of the hands of criminals, and that's exactly what we want to do. This is, in my view, very similar to the idea of not taking money from the federal government on a stimulus package, which ended up costing $2 billion in property tax hikes, which is exactly what my opponent does. It's just like saying preschool is babysitting. This is consistently turning one's back on what will make a difference in people's lives, fundamental differences in people's lives, common sense steps in making people's lives. We need to have every tool in the hand of law enforcement to protect our citizens, and that's what we will be talking about over and over again as we go through this campaign. With that, let me turn it over to my running mate, someone who is a feisty grandmother, who understands that she probably wouldn't want to see guns, assault weapons, 50 caliber weapons, any kind of weapon that could be destructive to a neighborhood out on the streets of New Jersey. Let me proudly introduce my Lieutenant Governor partner, Senator Loretta Weinberg.
Thank you to my governor, Jon Corzine, the governor who just laid out to you a specific, detailed program that covers gun regulation, covers dealing with kids and keeping them out of gangs and off the streets. It runs the gamut, detailed and specific. We have an opponent who thinks we don't need any more gun regulation laws. We have an opponent who apparently likes to exaggerate on any number of levels. His ranking on gun control, or I should say his ranking as a U.S. attorney, is 83rd out of 90 U.S. attorney districts in the United States of America. He likes to talk about how many gun control laws he prosecuted. He's exaggerated that and rounded out numbers to a very large amount. So yeah, I'm a feisty Jewish grandmother who's taught my kids you have to tell the truth under every circumstance. Especially you have to tell the truth and be an advocate to take care of our kids, to take care of the kids represented by the elected officials up here. And Mayor, thank you for welcoming us to this great community. Thanks for arranging a parade in our honor, by the way. It's Governor Corzine who understands that. He understands that nobody needs to buy more than 13 guns a year. I debated somebody across the aisle in the state Senate when this bill came before us. And he talked about how his wife felt threatened and needed a gun to protect her from carjacking or home invasions. And I informed him that under this bill, he and his wife could buy 26 guns. And I really thought that was enough to put a whole armored detail around his house and his car. And it wasn't necessary to go beyond that. So I am here with Governor Corzine to tell all of you that we are the team that is going to stand up on gun regulation, is going to help protect our kids and find much more positive ways for them to spend their time. And with that, I have another distinct pleasure. First of all, a moment to my colleague, Assemblywoman Nellie Pou, with whom I served in the Assembly for a long time. She has been a great source of encouragement to me, and I know I will continue returning that to her, so thank you very much, Nellie. And with that, I have somebody else here who I once served in the Assembly with, and that is my friend, Congressman Bill Pascrell. He has been standing up on this issue. He stands up on a lot of issues. And you want to talk about, there's a feisty grandfather for you. So from one feisty grandparent to the next, I present to you your congressman, our Congressman, Bill Pascrell.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you. Thank you, Loretta. Good night.
Thank you, Loretta. Mayor, thank you for inviting us today. Assemblywoman Nellie Pou, Chief Whittick, Chief Lovely, Director Brown. This is a great day. It's a great day to have the governor in our town. It's a great day for many reasons. Let me start by saying that the major reason why I am in support of this particular regulation and this particular new law about one handgun a month is because of what it does to protect our brothers and sisters in blue. My record is very clear since I went to the state legislature in 1987 and then 1997 to the Congress. If you're in public office, I don't care what position you're in, if you don't protect the brothers and sisters in blue, you don't belong there. But you know, talk is cheap. We've seen what's happened in many communities throughout this country where the perpetrators have more weapons, tougher weapons than our police departments. You can't send people into battle every day to protect our lives and not give them the proper resources. And you can't send these men and women who are the bravest in our country along with our armed forces. You cannot send them into battle every day to fight the crime and to fight and protect our property unless we're willing to stand up and say, enough already. The weapons in the hands of these perpetrators need to be limited and regulated, even in the famous Supreme Court decision of 2008. Even in that decision. And Justice Scalia argued, and Justice Breyer, the opposite. Justice Scalia admitted to the fact that the question of proportionate response is debatable, but it is a legitimate way to protect our communities and our police officers. You look at this legislation very carefully. Not only, if you take the life of a public safety officer, you're never going to see daylight again. But the other two factors in this bill that section are very important. This legislation would impose an extended term sentencing beyond 20 years to life if you attempted to take the life of a police officer. And if you point a firearm at a police officer, no longer will it be a third-degree crime, it will be a second-degree crime. Now, look, we could pat our police officers on the back all we want. We could take a million pictures with them. If we are not providing legislation to regulate weapons in the street or to defend the police officer when we send him out every day, we should not be in public office, nor should we seek public office, period. You agree with me? Now, Governor, I have to admit that in 1998, 1999, Congressman Bob Wexler of Florida introduced legislation about one handgun a month. I was co-sponsor of that legislation. Needless to say, it went nowhere. Those of us in the Congress have to either stand up or sit down. And it takes some courage and guts. This is not anti-gun. I am a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. You have a right to bear arms, to defend yourself, to defend your house. We're not talking about that, so don't mix the messages. Don't mix the messages. I'm very happy to see that your opponent, Governor, at least agreed with you when you stood up early that we do not want the Thune Amendment in the House of in the Senate to pass, because that would have given the ability of people to carry concealed weapons across borders. And by the way, that only failed by 2 votes. It only failed by 2 votes. Please think about that. Law enforcement does not want it. This governor stood up early about that case. I don't know how the NRA responded to your opponent's support of your position. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a governor who can stand up. He couldn't stand up 2 years ago when he was in almost a fatal accident. But we prayed for him. Our prayers were answered. He's stronger than ever, and he's going to be a strong governor also in the next 4 years. Let's give our governor a great round of applause. Nellie, you going to say a few words? I served with my friend Nellie Pou even when she wasn't in office. He did a great job here, always for the people of our town and of our community. I want a great friend, a family friend for many, many years. My good friend, Assemblywoman Nellie Pou.
Thank you, Congressman. First, let me just say how proudly I stand here in front and beside Governor Corzine on this incredible and important initiative. I also want to give an incredible warm welcome to my friend, my colleague, someone who I have nothing but the most deepest respect for, a woman who I served in the Assembly with, a woman who has in the Senate done incredible amount of work, and someone who has continued to show that whatever she says, it's really going to happen, because as you all have seen, Senator Weinberg, our soon-to-be Lieutenant Governor Weinberg. I like the sound of that, by the way. Let me just say that some of the steps and some of the initiatives and pieces of legislation that we have all strongly supported and advocated for, and has come before the governor's desk for his signature, something that he has truly been the front runner on, the front fighter on this particular issue. It's worth mentioning over and over again the importance of the pieces of legislation that we're talking about, whether it's, as he indicated, whether it's the one gun a month legislation, the important piece of legislation that has had a number of different assembly sponsors within our legislature, as well as strong advocates in the state Senate. And whether we're talking about the new initiatives that the governor talked about with the illegal trafficking, and or the important piece of legislation for making sure that the micro-stamping technology for the new semi-automatic handguns that he talked about, for the importance of making sure that we're able to fight crime and help and aid our law enforcement officers on the street, of making sure that we get the criminals off the street quickly and as promptly as possible to create safer streets and neighborhoods for us. It certainly is all of these pieces of legislation, and as well as making sure that the much needed federal assistance that he talked about, the governor spoke about, that the Congressman Pascrell talked about, in terms of making sure that in New Jersey, by the way, in New Jersey, we pass legislation making sure that no guns can be, in fact, sold at any gun show. We want to make sure that that regulation, those gun regulations, are in fact passed on a federal level, so that they don't have to go as close to just Pennsylvania or any of our surrounding states and bring in those guns into New Jersey. We've taken the tough initiative, passed the tough laws. We want to make sure that our federal regulations also assist New Jersey in making sure that our job is done as well. And for that, Congressman, I know that you have been a fighter in that regard, and you will continue to that. And I congratulate you, Governor, for your incredible advocacy of making sure that our state is safe. Thank you very much.